So we're going to be doing an advanced rotation today. So I've started out my sectioning, going from the temple around through the back and slightly dipping down into the occipital bone. Okay, so the look that we're going to be working with today, I'm not going to lie, I felt like cutting off some hair, so we're gonna do a short cut on this one. So we're going to start on the bottom. Okay. Let me turn her so you guys can see. Okay, and let me just wet it down just a little bit. She's been anxiously awaiting her haircut. So just gonna wet it down a bit. And then I'm gonna get right in here. So we're gonna start by using vertical sections all throughout the back and in through the sides, okay? So this is gonna be a slightly disconnected or undercut type of a look that we're working with. So I'm gonna start with my first vertical section. And if you've watched my lives before, you know that I'm very particular about my partings. I like everything to be very clean and out of the way. One, it just really helps me to know where I've been and where I'm going. Natasha, I see that you just sent me a text, but I can't open it right now. So I hope everything is okay. Okay, I was having problems earlier. Can you guys hear me? If somebody could just answer that question for me, that would be phenomenal. Can you hear me? Thank you, Javier. Okay, so I'm just gonna work pulling everything straight out from where it grows. Okay, so I'm gonna go this way. I think that'll be easier to see. And I'm gonna determine my length. And like I said, I want it to be shorter. I want it to be a little bit more disconnected. So I'm gonna remove that length. And I'm working with my 5.5 inch Delta blade. So are you guys familiar with the Ross cutting blades? Give me a yes, no. Okay, so with the Delta blades, these are our straight blades, okay? Scissors, shears, whatever you want to call them. We were kind of trained to call them blades, so good habit, bad habit, it stuck with me. So the 5.5 Delta blade is going to be from a VG10 steel. It also has a rotating thumb, which all of our shears or blades do have that. So it really allows you to work in a much more comfortable body position, which is something I've been behind the chair now for almost 32 years, you know, so it really takes a toll working with a stationary thumb, in my opinion. So when I'm working with a rotating thumb, I can keep my elbow down, I can move my hand any way that I want to because of that rotating thumb, okay? So moving on. I'm gonna continue and keep removing that length. Okay, so I'm really not going to be utilizing a guide at all. I'm just going to use a little bit from that previously cut section as I'm working in the vertical sections. But as I move on, I'm not taking a traveling guide with me. Okay, so I'm just going to go right on to the next one. We want it to be about a 1 inch vertical parting. And again, pulling everything straight out from where it grows. And removing that length. Now, I do want there to be some softness around the edge, so I am going to very slightly angle when I get into the very bottom of this section, so that'll leave me some softness. I'm all about short hair, but I do really like there to be a certain degree of femininity to it. Again, another vertical 1 inch section, keeping things out of my way. Pulling it straight out from where it grows. moving the length. Same thing, just slightly angling at the bottom. Taking off the length. I'm going to tilt her head down a little bit. This seems to be a very awkward position this morning. Just working all the way around the head. So that VG10 steel that the shears are made from is one of the strongest steel that is available on the market. So something that I really enjoy about the Rusk blades is that even though I do get them sharpened every year and a half, there really isn't that urgent necessity to have that done. So it really holds its edge for a very long time. I will tell you this though, if they do need to be sharpened when you purchase your scissors, please hold on to all that paperwork that is in there, because we do recommend having them sharpened by that gentleman. I believe his name is Scott. If unfortunately you do have them sharpened somewhere else and something goes awry, you have voided out that warranty. So be aware of that. Moving into this last section here. Again, vertical sections, removing the length. Oops. And on to the other side. Make sure you guys can see. Just a little. 1 inch. Vertical, straight up and down. I'm also going to be using a couple of different texturizing shears today. So the first one I'm going to use is going to be our Gamma blades. So I'm going to use that down at the bottom, just because I feel like it gives it a certain degree of softness. And again, I do want to maintain some of the softness within the cut. Pay no attention to the blood coming from my finger. We'll clean that off. What was that first rule they taught us in beauty school? Never cut past your second knuckle. I'm so guilty of that. Got a couple of randoms down here. Too small, too thin to be dropouts, so we're gonna take them off. Okay, so I'm done with the bottom of this. Okay, I've removed all the length. Now I'm gonna go in with a texturizing blade. And again, I said that I'm gonna use my Gamma. So the Gammas are a 35 tooth texturizing blade or a weaving blade, whatever you wanna call them. The one thing I never like to call them, especially when I'm talking to my clients about it, is to refer to them as a thinning shear. If you have somebody that has thin hair, this is going to freak them out. I have fine hair, so when, back in the day before I was working with Russ, before I was even in school, I heard thinning blade and I went crazy, okay? So I'm going to work in the same manner. So again, we're going to take the 1 inch vertical sections and I'm just going to go in here and soften that up. Okay, so that'll give me a nice integration. If there's any starts or stops there or any jumps within my lengths, this will help to blend that all in. You know, it's funny, I was at Target last night and I was like, I should get some Band-Aids. See, the universe is listening. So working in the same manner and just breaking those up. Now you always want to texturize working in a bricklaying motion. Sometimes when the hair is a little bit shorter like this, that can be a more difficult thing to do. So always give it your best shot, but really just break it up. You don't want to remove that length right on top of itself, meaning you don't want to go in and start here and then right on top of it and then right on top of that. So you always want to break that up. You want to bounce those blades around. And the Gyama blades is probably one of the texturizing blades that I use the most. It is definitely the least aggressive. And I just love that it gives the hair a really nice, soft, velvety look. Now, you could even, if you wanted to, scissor over comb this to break out that weight. I just prefer going in this way. But if you wanted to, you could. So like over along the sides here. If we wanted to break that up in that manner, always an option. I think that's one of the things also that I really enjoy about Rusk is that we're going to give you the rules, but we also want you to break them. So we're going to give you the education to learn how to break those rules like an artist. So you've got some method behind the madness of it. Okay, so done with the bottom. I'm going to pull my pony out of here so we can get into the top. Okay, and we're going to shake that down. So now, anytime that we're working with a rotation technique or an advanced rotation, it's always really important to understand where our first initial cut is going to come from. So first thing I want to do is establish a square section up and through the top. And I have two actual options, okay? So if I want it to be perfectly balanced, that square is going to sit right in the center of the head, okay? If I wanted to have a slight asymmetrical feel, I can bring it to whichever side I want to be shorter. So if I want the left side to be shorter, my square is going to sit more on the left side, okay? Because the hair is going to have less travel to get where I need it to be, so therefore that will make that shorter. So with this, I kind of want it to be right in the center. She's being difficult today. All right. There we go. Moving on. Okay, so I'm going to do a straight center part. It's Monday. And I'm going to have that sit right on top of her head, okay? So right where the comb leaves the head is where I want that square to start or end, however you want to look at it. So it's going to be approximately 1 inch by 1 inch, and that will all vary depending on the density of the hair, how large the head is. Those things will come into play. If it's a little bit larger of a head, then your square is going to be a little bit bigger. Okay, so she's pretty normal head. So I'm going to do a pretty normal square. And just keeping things really neat and clean. And just isolating that square section. Hopefully she'll pop off real nice. There we go. Okay, so I've got a 1 inch by 1 inch square. And then this is going to serve as the guide for the top of my cut. So I just need to get in here and determine where I want that length to be. And like I said, I felt like cutting some hair today, so I'm gonna go pretty short. So just pulling everything straight up, using the delta blades and removing my length. Then I wanna shake that down because now I'm gonna continue with the rest of my sectioning for this cut. So the rotation is based off of triangle partings throughout the head. Okay, so I'm gonna establish my triangles. My first one in the front always has a tendency to be a little bit larger just because I want to pick up the breaks within that fringe kind of hairline. So where the natural breaks in her fringe are is generally where I'm going to put that first triangle. Now, it's really important going back to that square section, or we kind of refer to it as the core, that it's large enough so that you can pick up a bit of each of that square into your triangle as your guide. So here's my guide, and there's the rest of my triangle. So that is a very important factor when utilizing this technique. I'm just going to work all the way around her head, putting in my triangles. I forgot my favorite comb at the salon on Saturday, so I'm using a comb that's really big. Not my favorite. And then I like to get them all in and then continue to cut. If you want to do a triangle cut, do a triangle cut. That's fine too. Nobody's going to come and take your license away from you. It's all how you want to do that. So there's no set limit as to how many triangles you're going to have. My one suggestion would be to not make them too large, because every time that we cut a triangle, we're cutting right in the center of that triangle. So we don't want to have any type of over direction that's going to leave us short in the middle of the section and then longer throughout the sides. We want it to be as balanced as possible. So I generally say anywhere between 6 and 8 individual triangles is going to be a good suggestion. Again, if that hair is more dense or the head is a little bit on the larger side, you're going to need to do some more sections. Okay, so we're gonna move into the front. And again, I just like to start in the front because I know that I'm working counterclockwise. I know what I've cut. I know what I haven't cut. So we're gonna pull everything straight up. Turn her that way. Pull it straight up and just remove the length. Now, a non-advanced rotation would be everything that we did up on the top. So we wouldn't section out the top from the bottom, and we would just start with our 1-inch square in through the top. And that would be how we would do a longer version of this cut. This actually, in an advanced format, is a really great way to cut really bulky, long hair. Okay, so if you have those clients that, and I have them, and even with my short hair, like we all get bulky right underneath that occipital bone and in through the nape of our neck. So it's a great way to divide your layering so that you're removing some of that bulk. So by cutting underneath, if we were to do that on long hair, what we would do is we would start and pull everything straight out, and then just slightly raise up our elbow so that we can cut that length off and remove that weight that's in there. So when that comes back down, this is going to sit a little bit tighter or less bulky, but we're still maintaining that weight. And then when you go in and cut the top of it, you can leave it long enough so that it falls over that undercut or that disconnection that you've created in through the bottom. I'm really not enjoying this comb. Again, everything's coming straight up. Okay, and I still want to keep these triangles intact as much as I possibly can because I'm going to go back in there and use the texturizing blades to remove the bulk. And then her color, I kind of refurbished her. I've got a whole closet full of mannequins laying around. So she was previously highlighted, and I just used the 6.6 RR in the Deep Shine Permanent line just to create this beautiful, beautiful red. And whatever those previously highlighted pieces pick up, they picked up. So they're sitting a little bit more on the coppery side because when I highlighted her, I was feeling gold that day. So we're just going to keep rotating. Get it? Get it? That's where the name of the cut came from, because we're rotating. I'm either cutting off a knuckle or a nail. Moving around. Again, everything is going to come straight up. And I want to see how this undercut is looking when we're done. I may take some of that off of there, or I may really use my texturizing blade to get in and blend that in just a little bit more, because I don't want it looking like that old school skater cut. So, although I have seen those coming back too, they make me laugh. I think I dislike those. I really like a good mullet, but I really don't like a skater cut. Okay. Oh. Another little random. All right, so with the texturizing blades, I'm going to use the betas, okay? Betas are going to be the most aggressive out of the texturizing blades. Beta is going to be a combination actually of the gamma and then the alpha, okay? So if we put these two together, the alpha and the gamma, we would have the beta. So the beta, you can see, has 3 teeth that sit a little bit closer to each other, and then there's more of that kind of chunk or that piecey look to it. So what this is going to do is it's going to create a really nice broken, shattered texture within the cut. Okay, and I've been feeling very old school rusk lately, so I'm going to do something a little bit more broken, a little more shattered, lots of texture. So here we go. So we want to come in with our first cut, and we're going to drag our fingers up, and then we're going to bounce those through the ends. Okay, now as I'm doing my triangles, now I want to move them out of the way. Okay, reason being is that I don't want any one triangle to accidentally get over texturized. So again, this comb is huge. Bring it in, slide your fingers up, and brick lay those into your texture. So now on the sides here, I do want to soften up and take just a little bit of that overhang off of there. So I'm going to pull my fingers straight out and work the same way, really focusing on those ends because I just want to break off a little bit more of that length. Moving it out of my way. Straight up. Slide the fingers and bricklay that texture. Coming in towards the bottom of my section, same thing. But like I said, I am pulling them out just a little bit more to free up some of that length. Brushing the previously texturized section out of my way and just continuing around the head. Yeah, that's going to be too long of an undercut there. So I'm going to break it off. Another way I really like to use the beta blades too, if you ever have the client that comes back and says, oh my God, that last haircut you gave me was the best haircut you have ever given me. And there's that certain degree of like sinking anxiety that you feel like, am I ever going to reach that bar again? The beta blades is a great way to go in and recreate that cut because the beta blades are also going to take off length. Okay, so when that happens, I'll go through and kind of section out how I had everything sectioned because I do have a tendency to remember, you know, what technique I use to cut the hair. And then I'll just go through and break it up with the beta blades. Again, working off some of that length. I love an undercut, but sometimes I feel like those longer pieces, they kind of have a tendency to get really fine and almost too wispy looking. So it's trying to find that perfect balance between a weighted skater undercut and just a really soft, beautiful undercut. Comb that out of the way. She's really jumping on me today. So have you guys been catching the Facebook Lives every Monday and on Friday on the Facebook page? I've been able to kind of watch for a couple of minutes and then I have to move on. But there really is a lot of great education, a lot of tips that are being offered. And best part is it's free. So that's fantastic. Last section. So she also had a pre-existing fringe hairline, but I've got to tell you, I've been loving a bang or a fringe on even shorter cuts. So this will be really cute because we'll have those nice wispies around the face where we undercut there, but we'll still be able to maintain that fringe area. Okay. So we've got the undercut. Okay, so we got those longer pieces hanging over all the way throughout. So I'm really liking that. I think, yeah. So I'm going to prep her and then I'm going to get her all blown out and I will post pictures of the finished look. But I'm actually going to prep her with the mousse from the designer collection, which is, again, like I said, I was in a very retro mood today. So I'm going to use some of the mousse. Everything within the designer collection is going to be color coded. Okay, so this is blue. Things are either going to be purple, blue, red, or orange. Anything that's purple or blue is going to sit topically on the hair, and anything that is orange or red is actually going to penetrate into the hair and give you the benefit of using a product without that feel of product. So a lot of people really enjoy that. I know I'm definitely one of those. I love having product in my hair, but sometimes I just don't really like the feel of it. So with anything that's color-coded red or orange, it has something called Thermplex in it. So it's a heat-activated conditioner. So as you're using a blow dryer, flat iron, or a curling iron, it's really driving that product into the hair, and it has a 24-hour memory to it as well.